The speaker today, we're really happy to have him. He is Hong Kong Observatory's Chief Experimental Officer in the Climate Forecast Services and Climate Change Studies. So Mr. Sham Fu-cheung graduated from the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and he's been working at the Hong Kong Observatory for over 25 years.
Yes.
And yeah, a long time. So tonight he's going to share the scientific basis and the up-to-date knowledge of climate change in the local and global perspectives.
Yes.
And he's also going to provide some climate projections for the
Yes.
21st century, as well as measures that we can take in combating climate change.
Yes.
So we're going to switch seats here if you want to grab the...
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for our chairman introduction, and also thank you for his arrangement for the observatory to introduce the scientific knowledge, the basic scientific knowledge of climate change. So tonight I will just spend about 20 minutes, okay? 20 minutes.
Perfect.
To introduce the evidence of the climate change. How to next?
Oh, there you go. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, do this.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, this one. So tonight I will talk mainly about the evidence of a warm world, and also I will also introduce its impact on Hong Kong, and also the climate action which should be taken in combating the climate change. So before starting my presentation, I would like to ask the audience that, how do you know the climate is changing, or in other words, how do you know the global is warming? So can anyone can tell me something about the climate is changing?
I can start. This is Annika. We've spent many summers in New York and in Hong Kong, and more days there are heat warnings where the government tells you to limit your exposure to outside, especially if you're a vulnerable population. Just last summer we were in New York for 2 weeks, and out of the 2 weekends we were there, one of the weekends was an extreme weather event, so they called it, and they told it hurt to be outside. So, and I feel like I grew up in Hong Kong in my childhood, and we had very, I don't even recall any of those days where we were told to stay inside. Maybe once in a blue moon, but these days very frequent.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Anita, sharing. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So when we take a look of this, let's take a look of this world temperature map, okay? So if you take a look of this one, you can see that the red color is an indicator the rising of the temperature. So you can see that almost every corner of the world has experienced a warming trend. That's why under the warming climate, you may always hear the news about the global mean temperature rise, the extreme weather event, extreme precipitation, the global mean sea level rise, and at the same time, the melting of the snow and ice. And also one point is very important, is the rising of the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gases. So the greenhouse gases, they have the properties to trap the extra heat we radiate from the Earth. In case the concentration of the greenhouse gases continues to increase, it will trap more heat, and then the Earth or our world will become warmer. When we take a look of the long history of the carbon dioxide concentration, you can see that nowadays the concentration of the carbon dioxide is about 400 ppm. This means a part per million. Okay. So this figure actually is the highest in the past of the 800 years. So actually, you can see that 2019, this is last year, our global mean temperature was above 1.1 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. Actually, the average temperature for our last 5 years and also the last 10 years was also the warmest on record. Yeah. If we take a look at the long term of the temperature anomaly, we can see that the recent warming is so sudden. It totally reversed the long cooling trend in the past 5,000 years. So under the warming climate, so you can always hear about the melting of the ice. Actually, the Arctic sea ice, the rate of the melting rate is increasing a lot, and also is unprecedented in the last 1,415 years. If we base on the past evidence, this has already pointed out that by 2030, that is after 15 years. 2035 should be, yeah, after 15 years, the Arctic may be free of ice. The glacier in the world continues to retreat. So the scientists also point out that one of the big, large glacier in the West Amazon Sea, Amazon Sea sector on West Antarctica, they has already passed the point of the low return. Means eventually the glacier will melt away. This is only a matter of time. So as a matter of fact, we can see that the huge amount of the energy, the extra energy trapped in the atmosphere has been absorbed by the ocean. Around 90% of the extra heat has been absorbed by the ocean. Only one tiny portion of the extra energy is going to hit the atmosphere, just 1% only. So our ocean absorbed most of the extra heat. That's why our ocean keep warming, and also the ocean heat content is keep rising. Actually, last year, our ocean heat content is the highest on record. The thermal expansion of the seawater, and also the melting of the ice and snow. That's why our sea level accelerated. The sea level rising accelerated. The current rate of our sea level rise is about 3.3 millimeters per year. When we compare to the past, it is almost double the rate in the past. Sea level rise will increase the impact of the storm surge associated with the tropical cyclone. I just want to show one of the case in 2013. So I want to ask any audience over here is coming from the Philippines? Anyone? No? No. So. Okay. Because 2013, there's one of the typhoon, super typhoon Haiyan. So when it passing the Philippines, it causing at least 6,300 people dead just in Philippines alone. This is quite a terrible figure. Yeah, I will show you the video of the impact of this typhoon later. Okay. The warming atmosphere has the ability to accumulate, to contain more water vapor. So thereby there will be increased the chances of the heavy rain. More land area actually has experienced more extreme precipitation. Okay, how about Hong Kong? So under the backdrop of the global warming, actually Hong Kong is not immune of climate change. Hong Kong has also experienced a significant temperature rise in Hong Kong under the combined effect of the global warming and also the urbanization effect. Yeah. So the rate of the temperature rise for our past century is 1.3 degrees Celsius. So I guess don't be too underestimate this 1 degree in 100 years. Just for taking an example of our body temperature, okay? So normally our normal temperature is around 37.5 degrees Celsius. So just in case our temperature rise by 1 degree Celsius, I will be sick or fever. Yeah. Actually, the Earth is sick now. 1 degree Celsius rise is already a big deal. I just want to show this figure to demonstrate this event. So normally, the reading of the temperature reading is follow a normal distribution. But under a warm world, the pattern of this normal distribution will shift to the right-hand side. I mean, shift to the high side. So that's why the occurrence of the more extreme hot event will increase a lot. Okay, I just want to show another picture to demonstrate this situation. The normal weather just like a normal pendulum. Okay, sometimes cold, sometimes hot, sometimes cold, sometimes hot. But in case the pendulum is under a warm world, the pendulum, it will shift to the right-hand side. So that's why the hot situation or the extreme hot situation will increase a lot. Okay? Okay, from our annual mean temperature in Hong Kong, from 1885 to 2019, you can see that the rate of our temperature rise is 0.13 degrees Celsius per decade. But for the last 30 years, the rate increased a lot. We are up to 0.23 per decade in the last 13 years. So that's why the number of the very hot days and hot night increase a lot. At the same time, the number of the cold day decrease. So do you know the definition of the very hot in Hong Kong? The very hot. How to define the very hot? No?
Over 35?
No, so wow, over 35. So anyone have the idea about the very hot in Hong Kong? The very hot condition in Hong Kong.
Is it 42?
Wow. No?
32.
Almost. Actually, it's 33. Okay. 42. You know the highest temperature in Hong Kong, the highest temperature record in Hong Kong is around 36 something. Yeah. 42. Just let me to remember the last year in Paris. Paris is 42. Extreme high temperature. Yeah. Okay, I will talk this one later. Okay. Regarding the extreme precipitation, will become more frequent. Wow, 42 degrees. It's a quite terrible thing. Okay, regarding the extreme precipitation, we become more frequent actually. If you take a look of this table, we can see that in the past, it takes a long time to break the record of the hourly rainfall record. It takes a long time, but nowadays, the record has broken several times in just a few decades. So I just want to point out that the extreme precipitation is become more frequent. Okay. Oh, so how about our future? So this part I want to talk about is about our future climate in Hong Kong. I don't want after the people are seeing this figure, will move away from Hong Kong. So you can see that the number of the very hot day and also the hot night keep rising. Yeah. At the same time, the number of the cold day will decrease. Yeah, will become more. So that's in that case, the very hot day and hotline will become more frequent in the future. This is the figure I will, I will talk you about one of your questions. The extremely wet year will also increase, but at the same time, please take care of the extremely dry year remain more or less the same. So what I want to focus is that in future, we still have a chance of the extremely dry years. Yeah. Okay. Concerning the sea level rise, they will continue to rise, including in Hong Kong and also the adjacent water. The sea level rise will increase the impact of the storm surge. So 2 years before, Hong Kong has been affected by one of the typhoon, and the TC signal of the number 10 was Isu. Do you still remember the name of this typhoon? 2 years before, 2018. Do you still remember? Anyone in Hong Kong 2 years before 2018? We have a typhoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The Mangu, yes. This is in Chinese it's a Sanzhou, yeah. So September 2018, our storm surge, the record of our storm surge is 3.88. Okay. So during the passage of this Mangu, yeah. So you can see that the hill wave along the coastal area, and also the seawater flow into the estate and also the underground car park, and then lots of the window broken of the commercial building. So actually, this is not the worst case. If you can still remember that during the passage of this, after this passage of this Sanzhou over the Philippines, actually the intensity of this typhoon weakened a bit from super typhoon to a severe typhoon only. Yeah. And also the closest approach of Hong Kong is about 100 kilometers southwest of Hong Kong. Imagine that if the intensity of this typhoon keep as a super typhoon and also come closer to the Hong Kong, the chances of the storm surge is not only the 3.88, it may be higher. Okay, this one I would like to share the video to see how terrible of the 5-meter storm surge.
Typhoons look beautiful from space, but bring danger, like mighty waves, violent winds, and torrential rain. And sometimes typhoons bring the greatest threat of all, storm surge. Typhoons accompanied by storm surge have taken huge tolls of human life. With low air pressure, the sea level rises below a typhoon, but the main surge comes from winds pushing the water inshore. Like tsunamis, surges build in shallow waters. Sometimes the rising waters are funneled into narrow bays. They may rush across low land with astonishing, deadly speed. No one knows true death tolls. Many people are simply missing, lost forever. Super Typhoon Haiyan was known as Yolanda in the Philippines, and it devastated the south of the country on the 8th of November 2013. The wildest winds arrived suddenly, driving the water onwards in a tsunami-like surge that was deadly to many in its path. At Tacloban, the sea was pushed 5 meters or more above normal levels. There were frantic rescues. As the winds died away, there were scenes of devastation. Many houses had been swept away, the debris lining the streets. Among the debris were the bodies of victims of Haiyan. Nearby areas were also in ruins, as Haiyan and its storm surge left a swathe of destruction across the southern Philippines. Even stronger buildings have been badly damaged. Though storm surges are still hard to predict, typhoons no longer arrive without warning. Experts in weather bureaus monitor them, predict their paths, Issue warnings, including whether storm surge appears likely. Usually with typhoons, you stay in shelter, maybe stay at home, barricading the windows. But if storm surge is possible where you live, listen to official warnings. And if you're advised to evacuate, leave. Keep yourself and your family safe.
Yeah, very terrible, yeah. So 5-meter storm surge will look like a tsunami, yeah. So this typhoon, the 5-meter storm surge during the passage of the Haiyan 2013, causing 16,000 deaths in the Philippines alone, yeah. So we have to watch out for the storm surge. Yeah, so it is time for us to take a look of the risk of our building or the infrastructure under the warming world. I mean the extreme precipitation, the rainfall, and also the high level of the sea level. Our Hong Kong government fully support the policy and also the action in mitigation and also the adaptation and resilience. First of all, we have to take a look of the main sources of our greenhouse gases. When we take a look of this figure, we can see that around 70% of the greenhouse gases is coming from the electricity. Yeah. So if we can do something to save the energy, I mean save the electricity, we can reduce our carbon footprint significantly. And the Hong Kong government, I mean the Environment Bureau, they have already set up a target to reduce the carbon intensity, to reduce about 65 to 70% of the carbon intensity by the end of the 2030. Yeah. So in order to achieve this target, I think the Hong Kong government should do a lot of things. And for our local people, for the citizens, they are encouraged to adopt a low carbon living. For example, in your daily life, for example, for clothing, eating, traveling, and also something, yeah. So for the clothing, I think we can think carefully before buying new clothes. For eating, we can think twice before to buying the food, yeah. For the traveling, I mean, and also for your living in house. So you are recommended to power off the electrical applicants whenever possible. Yeah. For the traveling, I think we can encourage the people to take more the public transportation as soon as possible, whenever possible. Yeah. For the city mitigation measure, we can encourage the people to reduce the waste and recycle. And also the saving energy and saving water. And the other one is very important is that we have to phasing down the use of the coal for electricity generation. So while we have to do something to mitigate the climate change, but at the same time, we should be prepared. I mean, we should be ready for the extreme weather situation. So that's why we have to be ready of the climate change. We are building the Hong Kong government, they are building the seawall. They're building the seawall to protect the coastal region. They're also building the infrastructure to reduce the urban flood during the heavy rain event. For example, in the Wanzhai and also the Shanghai, they are building some of the infrastructure to reduce the urban flood risk. They're also building the check dam, the right-hand side, the right corner side. There's a check dam called the check dam. They prevent the debris flow from the hill. Yeah. Okay, so we are also promoting the awareness of the people about the impact of the climate change. In particular, the storm surge. Yeah, through exercise, food drill, and also the same, etc. Yeah. Okay, I better stop over here. So for the details, you are strongly recommended to take a look of the website of the Hong Kong Observatory and also the Environment Bureau. Yeah. Okay, I better stop here. I think there will be a lot of discussion follow up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. That's really helpful.